only promote the truth.
And so the true scriptures is the only translation we found out of all the translations in the world that does not have any distortions, that gets you out of the beast system. It's the only one we found. And we translated so we know. And we got over 30 years of experience. And we've been following Yahuwah for 17 years. Hardly anybody you're going to meet can say they've been following Yahuwah on earth for 17 years, Lena. Hardly anybody. So I'm going to teach you about how to tap into the abundance. Now, these principles have never went away. What happened is you got a Greek Bariyt Hadash, New Testament, and that Greek New Testament, it literally took you to be feeling guilty and being broke when Yahuwah is everything. Isn't that crazy? You had it in you, available to you the whole time. I had it in me, but now we got to work with what Yahuwah gave us as the truth. He's never changed. He only came to fulfill sacrificial issues. He came here to fulfill what was written by the prophets to give us a path back to salvation, not to teach us to ignore everything that he already said. He never said, let's wipe out everything I've taught you. Don't even think about it no more. And let's just deal with this new stuff. And in the new stuff, they keep referring to the old stuff. Isn't that amazing, Lena?
Yes, it's incredible. Actually, yesterday we saw it, reading something, and I believe it was Matate Yahu, where it was talking about that we have to keeping the Shabbats and everything, and it's talking it in the New Testament, in the Bariyt Hadash. So I'm like, what are you talking about now? That the commandments was wiped out, that the Old Testament is wiped out. You don't have to keep with the laws, but then you keep seeing the laws being mentioned in the Bariyt Hadash. Like if the Bariyt Hadash was not in the first place a teaching of the Tanakh.
How you feel about that, Lena? Like, how does that make you personally feel once you recognize that they're quoting the Tanakh over and over in the Bariyt Hadash? So how could you get rid of it?
It's just nonsense, because we all know, and the story, even if you don't believe in nothing, the story says that the Bariyt Hadash are letters where the disciples was sending between each other or sending to others to teach what happened with the Savior when he was on earth. And then they're going to say, oh, no, that's a different book. But the teachings was from the book they was reading. And the book they was reading and teaching from was the Tanakh, the Old Testament. So it just don't make sense. It's like they told us things so nonsense, like if we're some dumbass people, and we all believe it. That's the crazy part. We all believe it. We never question it until a lot of us wake up and said, "This is wrong." Like, you're just trying to shoot lies onto my brain, and I just caught them. So it's like, this is the awakening of the world. We have to awake the world and say, stop letting these people keep telling you lies and peeing in your ears.
All right, Lena, check this out. When I start this out, everybody put their seatbelts on. Y'all know I'm going to bring the heat on this topic. In the Bariyt Hadash, a minimum 850 times the Tanakh is referenced. Minimum. Did you catch that, Lena? In the Bariyt Hadash New Testament, it references and mentions the Tanakh, the Old Testament, at least 850 times.
That's crazy.
Has anybody ever told y'all that? Have you ever heard that before? Put it in the chat. Have you ever heard before that I'm going to speak like people are used to hearing. Have you ever heard before that the Old Testament is referenced 850 times minimum in the New Testament. Have y'all
That's
heard that before?
incredible. Wow.
But what does that make y'all think? When y'all hear that, I'm telling you a fact, go study it. I've been studying this for 30 years. Hardcore with Yahuwah for 17. 850 times minimum, the Old Testament Tanakh is referenced in the New Testament Bariyt Hadash. 850 times. So if somebody comes to you and tells you that the Old Testament is done away with, that means the New Testament is done away with, because it's using it as a reference and a credibility point at least 850 times. What you gonna do with that? Y'all know I'm gonna ask y'all that one, right, Lynn?
Yeah, that one is like a slap in the face.
Oh, the Old Testament's done away with, the Tanakh's done away with. We don't have to go by that no more. Well, it's referent now. When I say reference, it's used as a point of credibility to establish its credibility. So the New Testament, the Bariyt Hadash, is using references to give credibility to itself. It's saying, listen to me because I'm referencing the Tanakh, which includes the Torah. Now, does that bring a whole new light on the subject when I just say that, Lena? Does that bring a whole new spotlight on it?
Yes, it does. I think it's a good point, and I see on the messages that everybody agree on that, because you cannot have this letter talking about this book, and then you say no, that letter is not talking about that book. That book, it don't exist anymore. You cannot deal with that book. But my letter is a resume, or it have a lot of content of what that book just told me. So which one is the wrong one, or both don't work, or both work?
Hey, listen, that's how you tear it down. If you're talking to Christians, you're talking to organized religion, they say anything nuts, anything stupid, like the Old Testament's done away with, it's not, then you have to say you have no more credibility, respectfully. Respectfully, you have no more credibility because it's referenced at least 850 times. I got it ranged between 850 to 1,000 times. I think the most when I remember in my research, the most I can pick up is 1,000. So, Lena, we're talking about almost 1,000 times.
That's unbelievable.
So we dealing with it so the true scriptures we embrace. So look at that. That's the Bariyt Hadash. See that underneath where it says true scriptures? That means New Testament. So we reference it at least 850 times in here, and we agree with it, and we use it as our reference point for credibility. We don't try to push it away. So when we want to tap into the abundance of Yahuwah, we got to go back and deal with him on how he establishes people to be in abundance. And we got to work within his principles when we're dealing with him. Now I'm going to go to Bariyt, Lynn.
But look, with that, I just look a little kind of quick research, but we're talking about there's total like around 260 chapters in the whole Bariyt Hadash. And you're talking that there's over 850 mentions of the Tanakh in it. So we're talking about a lot of a percentage that is being talked about the Tanakh in the Bariyt Hadash. So
yes, it's really, listen, what did Yahusha say? Yahuwah came as Yahusha. He said, Masha and the prophets, they were writing about me. He goes, you listen to them and you're good to do so. He says, he said, way to go. Because they were writing about me. We've already translated Bariyt. And you can get, so once you get Opal package qualified, you get access to all 50 chapters of Genesis. All 50 chapters. All right? Now, when you go in there, Lena, watch. I'm going to read some stuff that's been there in front of people's faces all this time because they've been reading scriptures for years. And I'm going to talk to them about some stuff. Ready? I'm going to Bariyt chapter 14. Now, tell me what this means. This is important when you start to understand. I'm going to Bariyt chapter 14. I'm going to read starting in verse 18. And Melchizedek, there's this high priest called Melchizedek. Oh, Lena, that should bring in that. When you hear Melchizedek in the what? Tanakh,
But in Tanakh,
that should grab your attention because they say that Yahusha, who is Yahuwah, became Melchizedek.
Melchizedek.
What they doing putting Yahuwah's name on somebody that was mentioned in the Tanakh if the Tanakh ain't valid? Are y'all ready for this? And
Yes, let's go.
Melchizedek, the king of Shalom, brought bread and wine. He was a priest of the Most High Yahuwah, and he favored him and said, "Favored is Abraham by the Most High Yahuwah, possessor of heaven and earth." And Melchizedek, what did he do? He favored, gave compassion, sign named blessed, right? And he said, favored and Baruch is be the Most High Yahuwah, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. So Melchizedek told Abraham, your enemies have been delivered into your hand by who? Yahuwah. Guess what Abraham did immediately, Lena? You ready for this?
Ready.
And Abraham gave him a tenth of everything he had. Y'all see a principle there? Abraham gave him a tenth of everything he had. You see, when Yahuwah, if you're going to get in line with Yahuwah, the principle of the tithe has got to be tied into you. It's never went away. And everybody that has been abundant in Yahuwah, they do it. They don't play with this, Lena. They don't mess around with this. I want everybody to make a decision. How you gonna roll with this? Now, what do you do with the tithe? What do you do with it? You gotta find where Yahuwah's name is at. You can't just go out and throw it out to people and go, oh, the poor in the street, and they don't know where it's coming from. No, you can do that and make it part of your tithe or all of your tithe if you want. But it's got to be where Yahuwah's name is. I'm gonna prove it in a minute. All right, now watch this, Lena. Abraham, he heard Melchizedek. Y'all do a side note. Y'all have heard of this as Melchizedek. The real name is Melchizedek. Make a note, because we have to deal with him in the Bariyt Hadash, Lena. He don't go away.
No, and look, now that you're talking about that, so if they said that the tithes, that the Old Testament is being away, right? Is being pushed away and is not good anymore. So why they're still charging the tithes in the church?
They bring that up all the time. And they use Malachi Yahu, in order to give it credibility. And it looks stupid. We sitting there listening to it. No, we ain't.
They pick what they want. That's it.
Cherry pick is what my daddy called it. Called it cherry picking. Now I'm in Bariyt, Genesis, and I'm reading from the true scriptures too, because we already got this translated. I'm in chapter 28, Lynn. It's already where can people get this at where I'm reading?
In the digital collection. I'm gonna give the link on the sites, okay?
So Lena's gonna put the digital collection on the site, but if you go to tsinfo.org and you contribute to at least the Opal package, you get free access. Otherwise, to get all the books we got on there now, you'd have to pay about $200 to get them. Now watch this. I'm in Bariyt. We've already established to pay attention to Melchizedek. If you want to tap into the abundance of Yahuwah, I'm about to give you witness and evidence after evidence on how you are going to have to come into alignment and you're going to have to be born again. You can't be thinking about old principles of Christianity and organized religion because they do it to run a game on you. You're going to have to do it to come into alignment with Yahuwah. Now watch this. I'm in 28 of Genesis, Bariyt. Some of y'all already logging in and you're over on the digital collection. I'm going to start at verse 20. And Yaakov, who's Yaakov? So Abraham, Yitsahaq, Isaac, and YAHUAH. Who's YAHUAH? This is Abraham's grandson. This is Yitsahaq's son, YAHUAH. Now you ready for this? 28 verse 20. And YAHUAH made a vow saying, if YAHUAH will be with me and will keep me in the way that I go and will give me food to eat. He's dealing with what, Lena? He's dealing with resources. He's dealing with lively things. YAHUAH is saying, if YAHUAH will give me food to eat and clothes to wear, so that I return again to my father's house in peace. And YAHUAH is my allure. He said, YAHUAH, you got to be my allure. Then this stone, which I set as a pillar, shall be Aluah's house. So he said, I'm going to establish a place for Aluah here. And of all that you shall give me, I will surely give a tenth to you. What are you doing saying that?
Yeah, he
This
gets
is
the
Abraham's
access.
that's his grandboy. That's his grandson. What's he doing talking to YAHUAH like this, Lena? He said,
He
I'm going to
learned
read
it from his grandfather.
He learned it. It's passed
He learned it from
down.
his
It didn't just come
grandfather.
out of the sky.
Yeah, it says that we have it's passed generation to generation, and that's why it keep happening. Even in the Ten Commandments, you heard talk about generations over generations. So this is what we have to teach our kids.
You're either going to get favored generational or you're going to get cursed generational. If your finances is jacked up right now, you've been under a curse. Come out of her. Get back into a line. It's time, really, for everybody listening to my voice, make a vow to Yahweh. Do what YAHUAH did. If you got to understand this. YAHUAH, think about it. YAHUAH made a vow saying, if Aluah will be with me and will keep me in the way that I go, will give me food to eat and clothes to wear, so that I return again to my father's house in peace, and YAHUAH is my Aluah, then this stone, which I set as a pillar, shall be Aluah's house, and all that you shall give me, I will surely give a tenth to you. All right, now Daniel's got it on there. I'm going to put it up, Daniel. Thank you. I'm going to put that last part on there. So Daniel Bakoti's he's been beautiful enough to say, hey, look at that last part in verse 22. So this is chapter 28, 22. Look what Gerald said. He's following the order of Melchizedek, not Melchizedek. You got to learn how to spell that. Melchizedek. So now he's following the order. Fam, this is going to come up on you and I in the Bariyt Hadash. That's it. It's going to come up. It's going to come up. There's no way around it. It's going to come up. We're going to have to deal with Melchizedek. We're going to have to deal with the issue of tithes. Is it gone or is it here? Got to make up your mind. And YAHUAH made a vow. All right, now hold on. So now you got two witnesses talking about it in the Tanakh. Now if we go over to Abarahm, you got to put your seatbelts on now. If we go over to Abarahm, which you know is Deuteronomy, you go over to Abarahm 14. Now watch. We go down to 22. Because YAHUAH going to break some people free. Satan don't want y'all to know this for nothing. He wants you to stay what? Feeling guilty. He wants you to stay sick. He wants you to stay sick. He wants you to stay impoverished. He don't want you nothing knowing what I'm teaching you right here. And I'm walking you down through it. So now I'm over in Bariyt. I'm in chapter 14, verse 22. You shall tithe without fail. He said, without fail. This is YAHUAH talking. All the yield of your grain that field brings forth year by year. Now, some people will say he's talking about grain. He's talking about food. Hold on. YAHUAH going to deal with all of this in these scriptures. He's going to deal with it. And you shall eat before YAHUAH your Aluah in the place where he chooses to make his name dwell. That's a big deal. Where does he choose to make his name dwell right now? Where does he choose to make his name dwell, fam? In us. See, that's something we can't get around. And when we call on the name of Yahuwah, now that stone that he said, what did Yaakov say? He said, then this stone, which I set up as a pillar, shall be Yahuwah's house. We are now that stone that is Yahuwah's house. He comes and lives in us. So now it says, you shall eat before Yahuwah your Elohim in the place where he chooses to make his name dwell. The tithe of your grain and your new wine, he took it past just grain now. He took it to new wine too. He said, I want a tenth of your new grain. I want a tenth of your wine, right? And a tenth of your oil. And the firstlings from your herds. I want a tenth of your herds, so your cattle, your sheep, so that you learn to fear Yahuwah your Elohim always. He attached, and the fear here is respect. High respect. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make sure to translate that properly. You are to give ultimate respect. By doing a tenth of everything you got, it brings you into ultimate respect of Yahuwah. You're trusting him. But when the way is too long for you, so that you are not able to bring the tithe, see, they had to go bring it to the place where he had his name. Now, how far do you have to go to where he has his name? Now, you just got to look in the mirror. As a matter of fact, you just got to touch yourself. That's where it's supposed to be if you've done what you're supposed to do. Where Yahuwah, your Elohim, chooses to put his name. All right, now watch. When the place where Yahuwah, your Elohim, chooses to put his name is too far from you, it ain't too far from you no more. When Yahuwah, your Elohim, is favoring you, then you shall give it in silver, money. There you go, Lena. Now it's money, fam. He done took it from grain. He said, I want 10% of your grain. I want 10% of your wine, your oil, your herds, right? Including your cattle, your sheep, your donkeys, your camels, everything. Now he took it to money. He says, if it's too far away from you, or what that's telling you, if you're not raising cattle, you're not raising gardens and fields, he says, then you bring it in silver. Then you shall give it in silver. And you shall take the silver in your hand and go to the place where Yahuwah Elohim chooses. You ain't got to look far. He done chose you. He done chose you. Now you ain't got to go too far. He chose you. Your name is supposed to be his pillar. It's on that quick. Your name is supposed to be his pillar. Hallelujah. Look how smooth that is. We ain't got to go far now. We ain't got to go all over the place. We ain't got to do this. We ain't got to do that. We can do it. You ain't got to wonder. You ain't got to guess. We can do it. But you got to do it with me because I'm now in you. We can do it. He's saying we can do it. I'm sitting there waiting for you to activate me, how to tap into the abundance of me. I'm in you. Tap me. But you're going to have to come into alignment. You got to stop believing what they told you. They told you lies. And they were contradicting themselves right in front of your face. They were saying the Tanakh is over. And then they turn around, they quote the Tanakh to get you to bring tithes into a pagan building. They call it their pillar. They call it the house of God. Come on, Lena. They call it the house of God, G-O-D. What? And people putting money in there, perpetuating the fraud. And so now we're exposing it and we're going, no. Here it is. I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. Hey, true scriptures. Now I done gave you witnesses from the Tanakh, Lena.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna go into the true scriptures. What is this? The what? The
Bariyt Hadash.
All right. Is it talking about tithes in here?
Yes.
Does Yahuwah Mashiach tell you to tithe in the scriptures? Does Yahuwah Mashiach tell us to tithe? Let me tell you, you know when he told us to tithe? He was rebuking the parashim when he was telling us and them to tithe. He was saying, yes. Watch. I'm on page 60. I'm in Barashit. I'm in Matati Yahu from the Bariyt Hadash. So Matthew chapter 23, verse 23. He says, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. Look what he says, Lena. You ready? He says, you tithe from your mint, dill, and cumin. He said, you tithing from things you have. Look what he says next, Lena. Yet you neglect the more important things from the law, such as justice, compassion, and faithfulness. These are important things you should have done without neglecting the others. He's saying you should have done, you're supposed to tithe, but you got to do these other things too. He says you're doing a good thing by tithing. Brother Dan, I'm going to put that on the screen. Daniel's an overseer. Yahuwah has elevated him to overseer. He watching. He's screening. He sees what's going on. What did he say here, Lena? He said it and said, woe to you, scribes, Pharisees, and hypocrites. You tithe from your mint, dill, and cumin, yet you neglect the more important things from the law, such as justice, compassion, and faithfulness. These are the important things you should have done. Then he says something, without neglecting the others. Don't neglect tithing. You need to tithe because they were doing that part. See, they know to do that part. They know the tithe, man. They know to tithe. They know it's a man, and it's something supernatural. I don't know how Yahuwah set up this way. People that are not even in his name, when they tithe, there's something happen on the earth. They even get increase from earthly things when they do that principle. It's weird, but it's Yahuwah. All right, so we just proved in the New Testament that Yahuwah Mashiach, the Messiah, said, don't neglect from tithing. He just said it. He said, but also, see, there's some people in they're going to tithe and they're going to be mean. They're going to be rude. And they're going to say, well, I'm giving money. You can't buy Yahuwah. He said you got to do it all. You got to tithe, and then what else you got to do? You got to show justice. You got to show compassion. You got to show faithfulness. You got to do it all.
Look what our brother Amber said.
What'd she say?
Our sister Amber said, I quit for a while and it didn't go well for me.
See? Because now you got to deal with Malachi Yahu. Hold on. Now Amber's leading in. She said that for a reason. Because now I'm going to go back one book. I'm going to go to Malachi Yahu. That's Malachi, chapter 3, right? And he says, for I am Yahuwah, I do not change. So you sons of Yaakov, remember, Lena? Remember? He just said Yaakov made a vow to him. Y'all think that ain't attached to that? The vow that Yaakov made. Now, all them years later, his descendants, Yahuwah saying, I remember Yaakov. He says, I made a deal with Yaakov. He made a deal with me to tithe everything he got. Every 10%, he going to give me 10% of everything he got. That was a deal. That's a vow he made. He made it. And so now we get all the way to Malachi Yahu, and Yahuwah brings it up. He goes, for I am Yahuwah, I do not change. And you, O sons of Yaakov, therefore you are not destroyed and brought to an end. From the days of your fathers, you have turned aside from my laws and did not guard them. He's saying, you didn't do what Yaakov did. He's going to tell you exactly what Yaakov did. I don't think anybody's ever took you all the way back to Barashit, Genesis 28:20, showed you the vow that Yaakov made, and then showed you exactly what they've been preaching in these churches and getting foul all these years. I'm showing you that Genesis 28:20 through 22 is attached directly to Malachi Yahu, chapter 3, verses 6 through the end. Most people have no idea that Genesis chapter 28:20 through 22 is attached to Malachi, chapter 3, verse 6. He goes, for I am Yahuwah, I do not change. Therefore, you sons of Yaakov shall not come to an end. From the days of your fathers, you have turned aside from my laws and did not guard them. Turn back to me, and I shall turn back to you, says Yahuwah of hosts. But you are asking, in what way should we turn back? Look what he says, Lena. Would a man rob a lure? Yet you are robbing me. But you say, in which way have we robbed you? In tithes and offerings. He now goes back and says, I know the vow.
And he's tied in that to the commandment.
Yeah.
Because you will not steal. So you will be breaking a commandment, because that was a deal. It was an agreement made from our ancestors with Yahuwah. So we are part of those generations when that deal was made. So we have a responsibility to keep with Yahuwah with that agreement.
Yaakov, if you are from the 12 tribes, which everybody we're calling saying, you're drawn to Yahuwah now, it's a high probability that you are from the 12 tribes. From who, Lena? From Yaakov.
From
It's his
Yaakov.
12 sons. He became Yisrael. He gave birth to 12. He bore 12 sons. That's why Yahuwah is dealing with this in Malachi Yahu, and he's specific. He didn't bounce around. He said, Yaakov made a deal with me to bring me 10% of everything he's got. Everything I bring to him, he's supposed to give me 10% back, and he's supposed to teach it to his generations. And y'all are not doing it. That's what he's saying here. How you gonna get around this? See? Y'all are not doing it. He says, you're robbing me from the agreement that I made. He says it with your fathers. You've turned aside. Then he says, you have cursed me. You have tried to curse me, but you are cursed with a curse. For you are robbing me, this entire nation, all of it. And then later he gets specific. In verse 10, he says, bring all the tithes into the storehouse, so that there may be food in my house, and test me in this. Now he goes back and said, go back and check in. Go back and do study on what I did with your ancestor Yaakov. See how much I expanded him. Go on back. Take a look. How much did Yaakov have, Lena?
A lot.
One of his sons is named Yitsahaq, Lena.
Yusuf, yeah.
How much he have?
A lot.
He was over my star.
And you can go back into all the books and you see that Yahuwah's people, there was always in abundance. They never was lacking of things unless Yahuwah was teaching them something. Or
unless they left the agreement. If they left the agreement.
Yeah. And even when they came out of Egypt, he told them to grab all the gold. But then what happened? They went and did something wrong with the gold. They started building calves and all these things. But we all supposed to have lands over lands over lands over lands. Like we shouldn't even get close to each other. How much land should we have?
Matter of fact, we had to part. What happened? They had Abraham had so much, and his nephew Lot had so much they couldn't live close to each other because they all couldn't handle it. So what we're doing here is, for the first time for many of y'all going, man, I understand the scriptures. And it's going to be that way with all the true scriptures. You just got to have somebody that's sent by Yahuwah come and bring you the truth. You cannot manipulate us. We've been tried too hard. Too much fire done come at me. And then my wife, when she decided to get married to me, I said, you want to marry into this fire? Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure. But and you know what? Like the Yahuwah is showing us right there how the abundance should be. Like how much things we should have and we should expect. But then church is telling you that money is evil. But why is not evil for them to receive it? Why is not evil for them to have gold in different banks around the world? When they
This
can
is
use
deep.
that and eradicate with all the money they have, they can eradicate the poorness in the world.
Get rid of poverty, period.
They
Get rid
can
of
get,
homelessness. They can get rid of it. It can be solved right now. That's what we're
yeah.
building to eradicate the nonsense. And look at Yolanda says, you are teaching the truth concerning these matters, Brother Jason. See, hardly anybody wants to touch the money stuff. Two things that people want more of. They want more money and they want more sex. They just don't know how to get it the right way. They don't know how to get the money the right way, and they don't know how to get the sex the right way, so they stay guilty on both. Promote the truth is going to teach you how to do it right. I'm telling you right now, this is crazy, Lena. Malachi, all this time. Y'all see me operating every day? I'm operating under the scriptures of Yahuwah saying that everybody that don't bring a tenth of what he brings them into where his name is, you're under a curse. He says, but if you do bring it, he says, test me in this, says Yahuwah of hosts, and see if I do not open the windows of heavens and pour you out so much abundance, you don't have enough to receive it. You don't got enough room to receive it. That's how you tap into the abundance of Yahuwah. You got to come into alignment. If you're from the 12 tribes, you are connected to Yaakov's vow. You got to find where Yahuwah has his name. In your city, you got some situations going on now. We suggest you go print some Promote the Truth brochures. You can do it for free. Lena, drop that link in the chat if you don't mind. You can go, it's promotethetruth.com/witness, but she's gonna put it in the chat. You can download that, go over to Staples, then you got to pay for the cost of you printing it. And then take 10% of your money. Some people say, well, can I give it to Promote the Truth? If you want to, you see us. We got Yahuwah's name in here. You see it. It's everywhere. And we promote Yahuwah's name, so you will be putting it in a good place where it's going to be working to propel the kingdom rapidly. But we don't tell you put it all in here. And you ain't got to put none of it in here. We're going to keep going. His sheep hear his voice. And those that are part of 144, they will build up with Promote the Truth. And we will build the treasury of the kingdom in here together. Just 144 of us. And we'll reach out to the world. But we tell you, I'm going to tell you what we do. We go out. And usually there's no time we go out. We ain't got brochures. And we got some money that we will go to people. We see them in need and we go, hey, Yahuwah sent us to you today. The name of the creator is Yahuwah. And we'll explain to him who he is. And he wants you to understand that he's calling you. And this brochure is going to teach you his name. You remember, if you don't respect this money, you should take this money and not touch it. You should give it back. You should hold it till you see me again or give it to somebody else. Don't do it with that money unless you're willing to respect Yahuwah's name, because he's the one giving it to you and he created you. Now I'm working that tithe. You see what I'm saying, brother? I'm working the tithe. I'm working the storehouse. He says, prove me in this. Now, how many of y'all want to have so much abundance, you ain't got room enough to receive it? That's the title here. How do you tap into the abundance of Yahuwah? Who would love to have that happen? You're going to have to work this. Yahuwah says, I'm going to rebuke the devourer for you, so that it does not come to destroy the fruit of your ground, and your vine won't bear fruit, and your vine fail to give you fruit. So now everything's going to turn up. Everything's going to turn up. You're going to stop having a hole in your sack. You're going to stop. How did I get all this money? I can't find. Where's it at? You're going to stop. You're going to start coming out of debt. You're going to start growing. It's a process. You're going to grow to become the lender, not the borrower. All of us, me and Lena, are in the process growing with you. We started from the bottom, scratch. And we said, we're going to work these principles. We ain't moving from the left or the right. Why y'all think we don't play? Hold on. I brought up Melchizedek, didn't I?
You did.
And Yahuwah done told you to bring it into the storehouse. And then he says, all nations shall call you highly favored. For you should, now listen, you shall be a land of delight. He said, you're going to be you. Lena, you will be a land. He didn't say you're going to be a person of delight. He said, why do you think he said you will be a land of delight?
Because
Why
you're
do you think
gonna
he said
be abundance. You're gonna be representing.
it?
You
You're
better
going to have
represent.
land.
You cannot say Yahuwah is gonna give you everything. Whatever you ask in the name of Yahuwah, you're going to have it. And then you're not asking to have better life, to have better home, to have a better place where to put your family, a better car, a better vacations, a better homeschooling, better clothes. If we are teaching everybody that whatever you ask in the name of Yahuwah is not going to be denied, so are we asking all the time for less? Is that something like that we are doing as us as a living persons? Are we always thinking that? I don't know one person that don't want the best for themselves or for their family.
I'm telling you right now, you have not because you asked not. But Lena, we kept talking about Melchizedek. Why is that important? Y'all know it as Melchizedek. The real name is Melchizedek. It's very important that you understand how important Melchizedek is. Now I'm gonna go. Guess what I'm gonna pick up, Lena?
It's
I'm
true
gonna pick up. Lena started
scriptures.
smiling. She started smiling. Go to Abarahm, sign named Hebrews.
What page?
Going over there to Abarahm. And now everybody's starting to say, what page? That's what we want. We want the true scriptures so infiltrated throughout the world, the people. So we're going to be on page 300 and we're going to chapter 7. All right, we're going to 358. 300, page 358 in the true scriptures. We're in Abarahm. We're in chapter 7. Why is it so important that you understand the principles of tithing? And that if you want abundance, you got to do it. If you don't want abundance, don't do it. Watch what happens. Daniel, we're on page 358. I'm on chapter 7. I'm on 7. I'm going to start at verse 4. No, I'm going to go back up. I'm going to start at verse 3. No, I'm going up. I got to start at verse 1, Lena. I'm going to verse 1. It's so hot.
Page 357.
357. Back it up. Back that thing up. Ready? This Melchizedek. Hold on. I actually got to go to chapter 6. So I'm on Hebrews chapter 6, verse 18 in the True Scriptures, page 357. 6:18. So these are two things that do not change. Lena. He said, these are two things that do not change. His promise and his oath. Lena, did he make a promise to Yaakov and an oath? Wasn't that a vow established?
It
Huh?
was.
So watch what's happening. Shaul, who's doing this in Hebrew. This is written in Abari. These are two things that do not change, his promise and his oath. And it is impossible for Alua to lie. He did this for those of us who have taken refuge in him to give us strong encouragement so that we maintain the hope that is in front of us. This certain hope of being saved is a strong and trustworthy anchor for our souls, directly connecting us with Alua himself, who is behind the set apart curtains of heaven, where Yahuwah Mashiach, Lena, where Yahuwah Mashiach has gone ahead to plead for us from his position as our what?
High praise.
With honor according to the what?
Order of Melchizedek.
It's back up in our face. It's back up in our face,
In the
fam.
Bariyt Hadash.
Now we back. Hey, we was in the Tanakh, and it said Abraham, he tied to Melchizedek. Now it's saying that our hope is in these promises of the covenant. We know a covenant was made with Yaakov. That's why Yahuwah said, you house of Yaakov are not destroyed because of my covenant, because of my oath, my promise I made. And now, and he mentioned Yaakov's name, Lena. He didn't leave us, he didn't do it ambiguous, right? No ambiguity. Now he says, where Yahushua Mashiach has gone ahead to plead for us from his position as our high priest with honor according to the order of Melchizedek. So if you gonna roll with Yahuwah Mashiach, you have to come under the discipline of Melchizedek. You can't say I follow Yahuwah Mashiach, the Mashiach, sign named Messiah, and you don't do Melchizedek. And what does it continue to say, Lena? Chapter 7, verse 1. This Melchizedek was king of the city of Shalom, and he was priest of the Most High Allah. When Abraham was returning home after winning a great battle against many kings, Melchizedek baruch him, sign name blessed him. Then Abraham did what, Lena? Verse 2.
Took a tenth of all he had won in the battle and gave it to Melchizedek.
Why do you think he's saying that? What's Shaul bringing that up here for?
Because it's a teaching for what we're supposed to do. He's teaching them. If all the teachings that they had to the people at that moment was from the past, was from the teachings of the Old Testament, the Tanakh.
So this is one of them 850 plus, Lena, right here.
Yes, it's connected, which means we are still obligated to this.
He gave him 10%, a tenth of everything. Melchizedek name means justice. So he is the king of justice. He is also the king of peace because the name of his city is Shalom, which means peace. Now, Melchizedek had no known father or mother. Who was he? Now, Melchizedek had no known father or mother. And there is no record of any of his ancestors. He has no beginning or end of life. But he is the likeness of the son of Allah and remains priest forever.
Did Yahuwah was on earth again in the flesh? For how many times we've been reading that Yahuwah's been on the flesh? He was talking and sitting and drinking and eating with Abraham when he came to tell him that he was going to have a son, and then now we see here Melchizedek, and then Yahushua Mashiach, that was Yahuwah Mashiach, also him in the flesh.
Hey, it don't say he's made in the likeness. It says he is in the likeness of the son of Allah and remains a priest forever. I don't know what y'all gonna do with this. Y'all go ahead. If you don't want to go into the abundance of Yahuwah, you ignore Melchizedek and the principle of the tithe. Watch. Notice how great Melchizedek was. The Shaul's bringing this up. He wants us to notice how great Melchizedek was. And Abraham, the patriarch, gave him what, Lena?
A tenth out of everything he captured.
Gave him a tenth. What y'all gonna do with this? Indeed, the descendants of Levi, who received the office of the priest, have a commandment under the law to collect tithes from the people. That's where people go, the tithe only supposed to go to the Levites, the Luyim. Watch, pay attention. Who are their brothers and sisters, and the people who have descended from Abraham. But, what's but mean, Lena?
It negates the last.
You're wipe something out. Shaul said, but Melchizedek, who is not related to them, received a tenth of everything from Abraham. And he favored Abraham, who had received the promises of Allah. What y'all gonna do with this? Without question, the less important person is favored by the more important person. Additionally, in one case, a tenth is received by people who die. And in another case, according to the record, a tenth is received by someone who continues to live. It can be said that Louis himself, who received tithes, even he paid tithes to Melchizedek through Abraham. What this is telling us is everything is pointing back to who? Yahuwah Mashiach.
Yes.
You think the 10th ain't critical? Why is this being hammered in here? Why is that vow being hammered? And why is Yahuwah hammering everybody who don't do it? He says, I was coming to destroy you, but I remember my promises and my oath with Yahweh. Therefore, you're all not destroyed. I'm giving you a chance to repent. You ain't been doing tithing right. That's one where you gotta repent on. Yahuwah, forgive me. That's it. I love what Brother Al says. 10% is the starting point. Because if you go and study the other part, it actually goes up to 30%. But you got to understand, I'll do another training on that. Because you got to do something for the widows. It's a lot of different ways that Yahuwah takes care of, but they have been increased so much, Lena, that it was no thing for them to give. It was no thing.
They were so abundant. And that's why the title of this final session on the Teleton. If we are not abundant and we are not even thinking in abundance, how you even try to help anybody? You need to help yourself first. So start with your 10%. Give it like how we do. What we did here, like for example, we repair the streets, but we just don't just repair the streets here. We put a big sign saying these streets are being repaired with the help of Yahuwah. And we have a big QR code in the sign where everybody can go and scan and go to the video, the name video in Spanish. We give brochures. When we're helping anybody in the streets, we give brochures. When we giving money to the foundation here, it's in the name of Yahuwah. Those kids need to learn about Yahuwah. So anybody that we are helping, they always have to know that money comes from Yahuwah. Just even yesterday, I have a person that helped with some services, and her motorcycle got caught. But she didn't know, and she parked her motorcycle in a place where she didn't supposed to. So the police just took her motorcycle and put it in the, I don't know how they call it in USA, but it's a place where they take that, and she have to take that motorcycle. But in order to do that, she have to pay some money, and she was doing some racing.
They impounded it. They took possession.
Correct. Yes. So she have to go and pay for that, and that's the way she's able to work. So if she don't have her motorcycle, she cannot work, and then she cannot make money and get the motorcycle out. So I saw she was doing some things to raise some money, and I said, "What happened to you?" And she told me, and I said, "Don't worry, Yahuwah is gonna help you." And I put, and she's like, "What do you mean?" And I have been talking to her about Yahuwah. So I said, "Look, tell me how much is that you're missing, and we're gonna help you." Yahuwah is actually the one helping you. And I sent her the money, and she was shocked. So even though right there she don't understand everything, she's not calling on Yahuwah, that's a seed, but she knows that money is coming from Yahuwah. It's not this other pagan names or whatever, but that's the way that you can do tithe here, tithe there, and you can see how's your money, and you see how many favors you get from Yahuwah when you do that.
Open up. Listen, now I taught you tithing. I want to open you up to the complete abundance of Yahuwah. First fruits. Shamut, chapter 23, verse 19. Bring the first of the first fruits. Bring the first of the first fruits of your land into the house of Yahuwah, your Eluah. Got that? You bring the first, it says. Whatever you get, you're going to have to bring the first. You're going to have to get used to saying, I get something, I can't pay no bills, I can't get no gas, I got some money. Where are my first fruits going? My tithes are going. Where are your first fruits going? Mashalim, sign named Proverbs, chapter 3. Seatbelts on. Esteem Yahuwah with your resources and with the first fruits of all of your increase. Then your storehouses will be filled with plenty, and your vats overflow. Are you giving Yahuwah your best up front? You know when he's increasing you. How you coming back to him? Bariyt 26. And it shall be when you come into the land which Yahuwah your Elohim has given you as an inheritance, and you possess it and dwell in it. What Lena said to y'all earlier is Yahuwah is now ready to give us lands. We, as the followers of Yahuwah, don't have enough land. That day is over. We now are going to take possession of lands. So now that we know we're getting ready to go into this, we got to prep. See, they hadn't went in yet, Lena. Now they get ready to go in. It goes, when you go in to dwell in it, that you shall take the first of all your fruits, which you bring from your land that Yahuwah your Elohim has given you, and you shall put it in a basket, and go to the place where Yahuwah your Elohim chooses to make his name dwell there. It's in you. You ain't got to go looking for it. And you shall come to the one who is the what? Priest in those days. Who's the priest? Who's the high priest now? Melchizedek. Who sits in that position? Yahuwah Mashiach. And say to him, I shall declare today that Yahuwah, the Elohim, that I have come to the land which Yahuwah swore to our fathers to give us. And the priest shall take from the basket from your hand and place it before Yahuwah your Elohim. And you shall answer and say before Yahuwah your Elohim, my father was a perishing Amarian, and he went down to Matzar, Egypt, and sojourned there, traveled with a few men. And there he became a nation. He became a nation, great, mighty, and numerous. He went down struggling, Lena. Fam, he went down struggling. But when you bring your first fruits, Yahuwah is ready to make you a nation. But the Matzarim did evil to us and afflicted us and imposed hard labor on us, made them slaves. Then we cried out to Yahuwah, the Elohim of our fathers, and Yahuwah heard our voice and saw our affliction and our toil and our oppression. And Yahuwah brought us out of Matzar, Egypt, with a strong hand and with an outstretched arm and with great fear and with signs and wonders. He brought us to this place and has given us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. And now see, I have brought the first fruits of the land which you, O Yahuwah, have given me. Then you shall place it before Yahuwah your Elohim and bow down to Yahuwah your Elohim, and shall rejoice in all the good which Yahuwah your Elohim has given you and your house, you and the Luyim and the stranger who is among you. What you gonna do with this, Lena? This is prepping you to go get abundance. You got to have this mindset. You got to be looking for increase. And when the increase comes, first fruits. Don't ever get an increase and not first fruited.
Yes.
You learn, what are you picking that up from that, Lena?
Yes, yes. I think it's very important that you teach this, and I think us talking about where to do our first fruit and how to do it, and then also knowing that it's so important that whatever we put, that increase that Yahuwah is giving us is somewhere where Yahuwah is at, because the world is gonna have a lot of places where they're gonna need money, but it's like we was talking just 2 days ago. We don't pray for the world to be safe. We don't pray for the world that nothing happened to them, because Yahuwah have said and say and let us know that there's gonna be wars, that there's gonna be nature things happening, and that's it. It have to happen in order to for him to come back. The same way that he came to earth and he have to die the way he did, it was to fulfill the word. So he's saying something how it's going to happen, that's to fulfill the word. So we can pray for them to come to Yahuwah and learn about Yahuwah and repent from everything, It's the same way we have to also know what to do with that 10% or with those excess of money that we're going to have.
You're going to do a tithe. He gives me my regular money. I'm going to take 10%. Then he's going to increase me. When I see an increase shift, I then take my mind and go first fruits. And I bring a nice portion of that first of what he increased me. And I give it to him. And now, like Brother Daniels, I got the cycle. Brother Michael Fickett is saying, hey, if you can do more, do more. You know what Yahuwah is doing to you. Second, Dabar Aha Ahanim. Second Dabar Aha Emim. That's Second Chronicles 31, verse 5. Listen to this, Lena. And as the word spread, the children of Israel brought large quantities of the first fruits of their grain, their wine, their oil, their honey, and all the increase of the field. And they brought a tithe of everything they had. And it was a large amount.
Not only this is teaching us that, this is teaching us that they don't only own land and stuff. Those was businesses. They own their own businesses. So that's what we all need to start thinking of. How we can build our own businesses and being able to provide to those Yahuans or to those people that are in need, and we can spread the name of Yahuwah and his ways with our abundance.
This message is off the hook. You ready for this? Now we seal this thing. Ba-bam! Ba-bam! I got the true scriptures. I'm going to Luca, which means the light is Yahuwah. Yahuwah about to turn the light on me. Luca chapter 6. Man, how we going to deal with this? Woo! Luke chapter 6.
Page 115 is chapter 6.
Look at that, 115. That makes it so good, though. You just go flip right over there real quick. 115, Lena said. All right, we're in chapter 6. And actually, we're going to page 116 because we're going to go to verse 38. Now, Lena, I want you to read Luke 6, 38.
Okay, that's page 117, 38.
117.
Okay. Give, and it shall be given to you. It shall come back, and it will fall into your lap in a good measure that is pressed down, shaken together, and running over. The portion you give will determine the portion you receive in return.
That's Yahuwah Mashiach talking. That's Yahuwah Mashiach talking. That's the Most High. He said, give, and it shall be given to you. It shall come back. And Lena, did you notice it said it will fall into your lap? You won't even know where it came from. It's going to blop. It will fall into your lap.
Like Sister Cherry said.
She said, I don't know where it comes from. And it's going to come down, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And the portion that you give will determine the portion you receive in return. So based on how you receive this message and how you apply this message, what portion of this message are you going to apply? I'm telling you, as for me and my house, we come under the order of Melchizedek. Because we know that Yahuwah Mashiach is standing as high priest. And we know that we are under the promise of Abraham, who then had a grandson who made a vow with Yahuwah to give him a tenth. And he did that because he saw granddaddy and daddy give a tenth. And so he said, hey, whatever I get, I got to give a tenth. And then he started teaching first fruits. So if you're going to apply this message, you can expect the return. And Yahuwah said, and I am saying, as one of his emissaries, test him. Let's prove this to be true. And you've got an incredible platform and promote the truth if you want to. Lena, I wouldn't go off this message. If I wouldn't let the sun come up tomorrow. I wouldn't hear this message and then not go to tsinfo.org and go, look, I'm going to deal with first fruits tonight, or I'm going to deal with tithe tonight, because Yahuwah is sending this message straight through this platform. And then, we're not saying do it all, but we're saying that you can help us advance the kingdom together. Y'all see us working together in here. We have a platform for us, not ours, us, that we can expand this quickly. Now Lena, we got to figure out if we're going to believe Yahuwah on this message or not. Everybody here, you're going to have to make a decision. Do you believe the message? I cap it off with this. Second Corinthians. I'm on page 295 of the True Scriptures. I'm in the True Scriptures of Second Corinthians, that is 2 Corinthians, chapter 9. I'm in verse 10. He who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food will supply and multiply your seed for sowing in order to increase the fruits of your righteousness. You understand that?
Yep.
So Yahuwah gives seed to the sower. If you don't sow into his kingdom, he's not going to give you any seed other than just enough for it to get by like it does for most of the earth. But if you tap into seed to the sower, then he's going to supply and multiply your seed for sowing. Why? In order to increase the fruits of your righteousness. Verse 11, Lena, you will be made rich in every way. What's every way mean?
Every way. Doesn't matter what you think. And
Does
every
it mean
way.
get by? Does it mean scrape by? Does it mean any of that nonsense?
No, it's abundance. It's in every way. You're going to be rich in every way. You want something, you're going to get it. You want love,
Why?
you're going to get it. You want money, you're going to get it. You want food, you're going to get it. You want clothes, you're going to get it.
Why though? You got to ask yourself, why is he saying this? He tells you the next line. So that you can be generous in every way. Such generosity produces thankfulness to Allah. Yahuwah wants to increase you so you can be more generous. And that will bring more thankfulness to him. Your rendering of this service to the set apart people of Allah, not only for fully meeting their needs, but it also multiplies many expressions of thankfulness to Allah. Y'all gotta decide. You gonna rock this message or not? I don't have to say no more else about this message. I've told you exactly how to tap into the abundance of Yahuwah. You can't go side to the left or the right. You're either gonna do it or you're not gonna do it. The challenge is, y'all know what we're doing, promote the truth. We're asking you to support the mission. Go to tsinfo.org and say, look, Yahuwah, I'm gonna deal with this tonight. I'm not going to bed. You can't go to bed on a great message of Yahuwah and not take great action. Hardly anybody listening to me has appropriated their tithes and their offerings and their first fruits the right way. Hardly anybody. We know because we did it for years. But if you say, I'm going to get disciplined, when? What kind of faith? Now faith. Now. Right now, now faith is the substance. See, if I want substance, I got to have now faith. It's the substance of things I hope for and the evidence of things I don't see. If I want the things I'm hoping for and I want to get evidence of things I don't see, I got to have some now faith. And I got to take action when? Right?
Now. And it's a discipline.
Lena, you got some parting words before we get out of here? Because we got tsinfo.org. Everybody got a chance to show up and show out on this message and really ramp this thing up. Like, we're doing good, but good is the enemy of great.
Yes.
Yahuwah wants excellence.
Yahuwah wants excellence, and he wants disciples. And in order to be a disciple of Yahuwah and his through word, you have to be disciplined. So in order for you to be abundant, you have to be organized. And that comes to organize your finances. So get a piece of paper. If you're good in Excel or in any application online or whatever you use to whatever you feel more comfortable to get organized. Get your finances straight. Get it organized. Know how much money comes to you, how much money you're going to set on the side, and you're going to send out as you're tithing, and then how organized you're going to pay your bills. Make sure you always like just take care of your money. That's a gift that Yahuwah is giving you. It's a favor He's giving you, and just don't treat it as like it's just a piece of paper. Like it's not. They have value, and Yahuwah is giving you to keep spreading His word. It keeps spreading. Like you cannot say, "I'm following Yahuwah, I'm poor." How is that being a witness of Yahuwah's word when we're saying that you're going to be rich in every single way? So it's time for us as Yahuwahs, as followers of Yahuwah, that we get our finances straight, you get organized on, and it's not, it says that you're gonna be rich on every way. So finances and abundance is just one part of the abundance. Once you start getting your tithe straight, your love abundance is gonna come more. Your friendship, your relationships abundance is going to come more. Your mental abundance is gonna come more. Your emotional abundance. So you have a place right now, right here, where you can send part of that tithing. If you don't have nowhere else around you where you want to put that money, you can go to tsinfo.org. You can do partial. You can that's why it's so important that you know what you have. You need to know what you're bringing in order to get your percentages around. So I can help these people here, and I'm gonna make sure that when I help them, they understand this money comes from Yahuwah, from nowhere else. It's no, hey, here I want to help you. They can be in the worst scenarios, but you have to make sure they understand that they are in that position because they haven't received Yahuwah, and you want to bring them that salvation through that help. And then you said, I'm gonna contribute to promote the truth with tsinfo.org, because if we don't have this correct, if we don't have the true scriptures correct, nothing is gonna change in the world. We're gonna be reading lies. So right now we have to bring the Tanakh to life in order for all of us to be able to be online and be able to pass the page and tell each other where we're reading from. And everyone should be reading this, not the lies that are out there.
I love it. Everybody gonna pick up the confidence now. This was a confidence builder. When you come in correct, and you get we're attached to Yaakov's vow. That's the bottom line of this message. We can't get away. If we're from the 12 tribes, we are attached to his vow. And Yahuwah says, I don't change. Therefore, you're not destroyed. He goes, but I'll let you keep living under a curse. Here's how we break the curse, Lena. We just gave y'all a curse breaking formula by showing you that Genesis that we showed you first, that Abraham came into an agreement with Melchizedek. And Melchizedek back then is the same as Melchizedek now. He was it's Yahuwah showing up in a different form, letting you know he understands what's going on down here. He's rolling with it. And Abraham knew what was going on. That's why he said, you get 10% of everything I got. And Yitsahaq, he understood it. Isaac. And Yaakov said, hold on. I'm going to build this place to have his name. He put his name's going to be on it. And we're going to get 10% of everything I got. And then we get reminded in Malachi Yahoo, yep. The reason things ain't going right, well, our ancestors been breaking the curse. My daddy, my mama, my granddaddy, my grandma, all them been breaking. They've been breaking the vow, so they've been under a curse. And they passed it down. I said, wait a minute. I don't want to be under this curse. I want to how do I break it, Yahuwah? He says, get into alignment with me, and you break the curse. Now our son, doesn't have to go under this curse. Y'all got children y'all looking at. You can break it tonight. That's why Lena said, go get your spread. Don't go to bed tonight. Get your spreadsheet together. Look at everything. They can go to bed, sleep real good. And they wake up in the morning and you start rocking with Yahuwah with expectation. Hey, say, Yahuwah, I got an order. If I heard this on the replay, whenever you hear this, go stop. Don't get distracted. Tell everybody I gotta have a couple hours to get myself in order to see where I'm at. And then I gotta get right with Yahuwah. Come into alignment if I'm from these 12 tribes. Don't go to bed on this message. If you catch this, if you're watching the replay and you're at work today, you do not go to bed until you go sit down with your finances and go, I'm going to get back intact. I'm going to get back intact with the promise that Yaakov made with Yahuwah. So I get these curses off of me. Now I break it for me and the generations going forward.
Only promote the truth.